At the Michigan School for the Deaf, I started there in 1972. And it was a very good experience for me. I love the deaf. I want to teach you all a very important sign, especially in today's world. And that is this sign, which means in the alphabet I, L, and Y, you put them together as such. Sorry, I have a little trigger finger. That means I love you. And I have carried that since I retired in the 90s. Wherever I went from there, I always taught that group I was with, that audience that I had the opportunity to speak in front of, I love you. Put it together.
That's so great. Did you find that environment of Michigan School for the Deaf to be a warm, caring place?
Very much so. Everybody there was that kind of person. They were a warm, loving, patient, understanding person. And they helped the deaf tremendously. I would not wish deafness on anyone. The lack of communication ability because you can't hear can be devastating to the child, to the family, and we did all we could to help them reach their potential.
What grades does that school serve?
That school went from pre-K to high school and then some. I was certified 0 through 26, which is a special education degree. And I dealt with families. We would bring families to the school. We called it a family learning vacation in the summers. They would stay for an entire week. I want you to know that the advent of deafness, children themselves, most of them have hearing parents. And it's very difficult for hearing parents with a handicapped child who is deaf. So we immersed the parents in deafness. We had many excellent teachers who were deaf, or all ranges of deafness, from hard of hearing to profoundly deaf. And we brought them in and we immersed them totally for an entire week. We did everything together and culminated with a celebration on a Friday.
In a situation where the family has a deaf child, and also hearing children, let's say.
Yes.
The whole family needs to learn sign language.
Yes. American Sign Language is a stalwart communication tool for teaching the deaf. And we put the American Sign Language as number one, we taught the parents. We gave them every kind of aid. Today, and since I left, you can get sign language teaching, excellent teachers who teach signs. Some are deaf themselves, some are hearing, but they teach sign language on the internet. You could learn it yourself. And it has become, in many states, a recognized language. It's the third language in the United States. English, Spanish, American Sign Language.
Really?
Yes.
So this school, which is located in Flint, Michigan,
Yes,
it must serve people from outside of Flint, no?
that's correct. When I was there, we also served the Upper Peninsula. I'm not sure whether they have students from the Upper Peninsula today, Upper Michigan. But yes, it's a residential school for 2/3 of the population. And then we had students from Flint and Grand Blanc and Swartz Creek. If you look at a map, you can see all the outlying suburbs. They would come to our school as a day student. So we had residential students and day students.
What would you say is the mission of the Michigan School of the Deaf?
Well, the mission is to help the child reach their potential physically. We had a wonderful gym, swimming pool, track. We played sports. In the 1960s, Michigan School for the Deaf won the state track meet. Yes. And if you ever watched them play football or was an opponent of our deaf football team, it put some fear in you because our kids were fierce. So we want them to reach their potential, and that is talking about educating the whole child.
So is it fair to say, beyond a doubt, that you believe that a deaf child can do anything a hearing child can do?
Yes, I do believe that with the proper support systems that can happen. And of course, everybody has a range of physical ability and intellectual ability. So it's according to that. But reaching your potential is different for one child as it is for another.
If you could repeat that, please, and this time you said, I believe that a child can do that. If you could articulate what that means. I believe a deaf child can do anything a hearing child can do with the proper support, whatever it is
Yes,
you said.
okay. Yes, I do believe a deaf child can do anything a hearing child can do with the proper support system.
And what made you, I would think that most people in this town, especially in that time, worked in the automobile industry and did all these things. What drew you to work at the Michigan School for the Deaf?
And I was considered an educator, and I saw the tremendous need for counseling, which we are an agent of change, and we want to help the whole child. And that's why I worked and got certified from 0 to 26 years of age in order to work with the deaf. We had an excellent infant parent program. And we also did an awful lot with families. I myself arranged for us to go you must know about the Detroit Lions. And we had a stadium in Pontiac, Michigan, which is probably 40 miles south of here, called the Silver Dome. And their very first football game in 1976 against the Atlanta Falcons, we took 2 busloads of deaf teachers, students, and parents to the Silver Dome, and we lined up on the 40-yard line, and then between the 40 line, we boxed in and we sang and signed the national anthem for the Detroit Lions. We also did that on several occasions at Michigan State University. And Michigan State University, back in the 70s, 80s, had an excellent program for the deaf, where they taught teachers how to teach the deaf. And we coordinated with them. I was instrumental in bringing those MSU students to Michigan School for the Deaf in the evenings to interact with our students, and we would take our students to MSU, and they would interact there, especially going on this time of year, the spring of the year. I also worked with the what they call the Foster Grandparent program here in the Flint area, Genesee County, and we had many Flint residents come in the evening, and they did all kinds of activities with the children. We'd even have them come for a meal with the children that are residential, and that worked out very well too.
What does it do to a deaf child to be taken to sing for the Detroit Lions or to do these amazing, go to these amazing events? What does that do for a deaf child?
Well, we thought that would be very good to show that the deaf child can get up there and perform, more or less, and communicate nothing better than our national anthem, the United States of America. The national anthem. And we had teachers, students, parents, all collectively doing the same thing. So that helped them with confidence to express themselves, especially in sign language, and it had really many good results in that we were published on the very front page of the Deaf American, which is a national magazine out of Washington, D.C., Gallaudet College. And so it had merits and everlasting merits, and I continued to do the same thing with them. We petitioned the legislature, and you know that this evening, Governor Whitmer, our governor of Michigan, spoke right here in this very wonderful Sloan Museum. And the governors we've always had politicians. Representative Dale Kildee, back in my time at Michigan School for the Deaf, was our representative, and he would come and he would have lunch and dinner with our students, and he would address our school advisory committee and also parents. We had a pretty good fundraiser once a year where he would address them about the politics. And of course, we had one of the best interpreters in America there for that.
Do you feel like the experience of working at the Michigan School for the Deaf was a wonderful thing for you? Was it more than you were expecting when you first started?
Yes. I was not proficient in sign language, and one of the aspects of working here, the superintendent in my job interview asked me if I was willing to really dig deep into sign language, and I said, surely. He said, well, okay. And he provided a private tutor for me. I had an hour a day, 5 days a week, and I don't know, I was able to communicate, but it takes a long time to really master American Sign Language. Very difficult. And I do have trigger fingers, carpal tunnel type from doing that. So yes, another thing is that basically, personally, I am a family man. I have 6 children. They were all into the performing arts as well as athletics. And we would bring our children's ballet teacher to the Michigan School for the Deaf. We'd have 100 students in the gym, and we would bring great large amplifiers for the music, teach them the beat. 3/4, 3/3, a waltz, foxtrot, whatever you want. And we would teach in the summer my children, my wife and I, and our children's ballet teacher would come and do that for an hour a day for about 2 weeks. And the one scene that I can close my eyes and see vividly was, I would say they were probably 4th graders, a boy and a girl. And at the end of that period of 2 weeks' time, an hour a day, about 8 to 10 hours, toward the end of the last day, we looked up, and here they were together dancing a foxtrot. Both of them profoundly deaf. And we would take the students, my boys, I had 4 boys, 2 girls. I would take my boys and all the boys, residential boys, on a weekend to Camp Holaka, which is a Boy Scout camp in Lapeer, which is about 30 miles to the east of Flint. And we would stay there from Friday night to Sunday afternoon, and we did all kinds of things: fishing, boating, hiking, tug-of-wars. We had one year where one of our teachers who was deaf had a Jeep, And it was a little muddy because it was about this time of year, and just warming up. And so we had a tug of war between all of the faculty, staff members who were there, as well as some parents. That all had to be male, and the Jeep, tug of war. And we stuck that Jeep so deep that it took a tractor to come and pull it out. And that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with the teacher. I coached basketball, and we would teach the students basketball from a very young age, and they loved it. My family and I had a silkscreen business in our home to try to supplement a teacher's salary. And so we taught all of our students how to do silkscreen from A to Z. But the reason I bring that up is that we would make team shirts: the red, the yellow, the green, the blue, the white, the purple, the black, the tan, so on. And we would have teams all year round with the different age levels. And the kids had a lot of fun doing that, and we'd have a banquet, and who's the best, who's the most improved, who's the hot shot, who's the three-point shooter, and so on. So we incorporated the Thompson family, and incidentally, that's a T in sign language, and everybody gets a name sign, and mine was, on my chin, T. Thompson, Thompson, Thompson. That was me. And so we had twin boys, and they were Thompson. That means twin also. So they would go as so. My daughter, who was 14 at the time, in ballet, and we had a beautiful small auditorium at the old school, and she brought we had a student, his name was Marty Gallaudet, and Marty was a young 14-year-old fella. And so we had him come to our home, and on our home, along about 78, I think it was, we built onto it to the rear. You know, we had a large 300 feet backyard, and we built on a ballet and basketball court. Ballet room, and we call it the dance room. We had ballet bars on two sides and a 10-foot basketball backboard in our home. And we would, Marty would come out there with my daughter Ginny, and they would rehearse a Russian bit by the name of A Boy, a Girl, and a Balloon. And we took that to several places after we had that performed at the auditorium at MSD. I engaged with service clubs all around the Flint area and raised funds, especially in '76. And we had students who had worked hard, behaved well, joined in what we called the singing hands. Singing hands. And we would take different numbers that was simple for them to learn, and we would go to the service clubs, the Rotary, the Grange, the Kiwanis, the Elks, whatever, and entertain at noon. I would take them out of school. We'd go have lunch with that group, and they would perform their sign language song, one or two songs. And of course, that was a form of fundraising. And right here, next door to this Sloan Museum, we have the Whiting Auditorium. And it is a beautiful auditorium. We've had a lot of good performances and performers come here. The one I liked the most was River Dance from Ireland, you know. But that, we wanted to have that and our family and the deaf all one. And then that's what I worked to try to do. For my family, they gained just as much out of it. My youngest daughter, we taught her sign language at a very young age. She was only about 2 when I took the job in 1972. And in the 3rd grade, she took a test, and she was beyond college level reading. It was, we think, because she learned sign language at a young age. She learned it from their brothers and sisters. I would take what I learned and work it on my children. They carry it on yet today. I have a son who is a principal here in Flint at a charter school. He's doing a fantastic job. He teaches those kids sign language. In fact, he got an assistant, a teacher's assistant, to come to the school as a teacher's assistant at his school. I have another son who's a principal at Hawthorne Center, which is a emotionally impaired facility here in Michigan, one of 2, and he teaches them sign language. I have another daughter who's a special ed teacher. She teaches sign language. Sign language has been with us and understanding the deaf and meeting the deaf. I meet them, except for this doggone COVID business, you just don't get out. But prior to that, I would meet a deaf person a week, just about, that I knew, from interacting with them at the school.
I wanted to ask you about that. Do you still see some of the students from the school from when you were there, and have you seen them get on with their lives and have successful lives and this kind of thing?
Yes. We had one student by the name of Rex Rogers who was very artistic. And in fact, I brought him here to the Flint Institute of Art for classes. And he has a studio in Davison, an art studio. So he overcame that, and his parents were hearing. I do meet, we had not close neighbors, but right in our neighborhood, a family with both hearing and deaf children, and they went to our church. And so, yeah, we've interacted with them, and one time I was out selling, trying to get donations for the handicap with Tootsie Rolls. I don't know if you have that in New York, but
Yes.
do? Good. And I would meet several of the deaf families that, and former students who would come by, and we would, be trying to do that, and then, oh, the green light, they got to go. Bye. So, and restaurants or out to the grocery store, shopping, sometimes at athletic events, that kind of thing.
It sounds like you had a very fulfilling career working with the deaf,
Yes.
and I'm sure all the students that were exposed to you and your family, I'm sure it did them a lot of good.
Well, we would like to think that is true, but in turn, like I said, those students, the teachers who were deaf, we had a couple of teachers, one a male, one a female, who spent a lot of time at our home. They would just come over and interact and have dinner with us, play cards with the kids and stuff. Yeah, our family benefited just as much as any the deaf children would have, I think.
And maybe the city of Flint benefited from having the school here for sure, don't you think?
Yes, it is the only residential school for the deaf. It is the Michigan school for the deaf. And it was built in 1854. The first one burned down, and now it is Fay Hall, but that's another story I don't think we should get into. However, yes, our students always interacted with the community, like I said, in sports. And we had a nice swimming pool. We would open that up so community could come in, and the deaf and hearing would be together and that kind of thing. The hearing people would come and use our track, and we'd be out there amongst them. We had different organizations come. One organization came over, a bunch of engineers, from General Motors, came 1 or 2 years, and they repainted our entire dormitories, many, many rooms. And as an organization, they brought the paint and the labor. They cleaned up and had fun with the kids. And so we did all we could to expose the community to our school. If you had a picture of it, and I'd be glad to try to get you one, Fay Hall, Barnabas Fay was a deaf person who built it. It has carried on with, even in a rough economic times, the legislature has supported it. Special ed of a special kind. It's not inexpensive to teach a deaf child. And so, but it's always been supported. We have some, you ask about the lives of, and as General Motors goes, we would have our students become some of the best millwrights for GM in tooling and that kind of thing. Also, our print shop, prior to the computer, we would have Detroit Free Press, Detroit Times, Bay City Gazette, Lansing Journal, and many of the local areas would take our students out of the shops to do typesetting, which takes a lot of dexterity, hand-eye coordination. And one of the things that happens when you lose one faculty or one sense is another one kind of strengthens another one. And so the visual acuity of a deaf person is probably at least 80% stronger than that of a hearing person. And so they had that visual acuity and dexterity to typeset. Today, the computer took it over, and in a matter of about 5 or 6 years, instead of being able to send 100 printers out to typeset, that was gone, and the computer took over typesetting. You know yourself by the typewriter and how you used to have whiteout. When you make a mistake on a computer, delete, boom, start over. So in our carpenter shop, we had some master carpenters. Yeah. And our girls, their secretarial skill, IBM would supply the typewriters. IBM would hire some of them. And so we were thinking about occupations as well. Today, there's a dearth of skilled workers. And the deaf filled that, and the school for the deaf made it happen here in Flint for many Michigan students. They had a job with General Motors, they're now retired.
It sounds like that school really prepared a lot of young people for success in the world. That's fantastic.
Yes. And we have had several students go to Gallaudet College in Washington, D.C., which is a college that is primarily for deaf students. There are hearing people go there, but it is Gallaudet College. It's the only college for the deaf in the world, Washington, D.C. And when I wanted to do a family learning vacation here, I took my family to Washington, D.C. We stayed over 2 weeks there at Gallaudet College. And I was part of that cadre, the faculty that did that family learning vacation. And that's where I learned a lot about how to do that, and then I brought it back to Michigan.
Jim, thank you so much for telling us about what you did at the school, but mostly about the community that existed between
Yes.
students and hearing people and your family's involvement. That's all fantastic.
Yes,
All fantastic.
thank you. And we have interpreters who are hard of hearing, who interpret here at the Whiting. We would bring our kids on field trips here to the cultural center. This is a wealth a wealth, a mott funding that has sustained Flint cultural assets. Our new library is to open again. It's totally redone with all of the high tech and that. It's going to open next month. Here, we would bring our students here to research. We brought them to the Art Institute. We brought them to our Longway Planetarium, which is a super place if you want to know anything about space and that. This was a natural field trip and only about 2 miles at the most from here to the School for the Deaf.
It sounds like it was a very nice, a very good community.
Yes, and it remains so today. In fact, I went by there just this morning, and it was great to see all the cars in the parking lot and that. And I mentioned to my daughter that it looks like MSD is still humming.